Welcome back to the Enlightened Misfits podcast. You have your host, Lauren, and in today's episode, I have an amazing guest here with me, and her name is Trish Rock. She is a best-selling author, coach, and psychic. So, Trish, tell me a little bit about, part of your journey. Like, how did you get to be where you are right now? How did you start? What kind of came to you when you decided that you wanted to write this book?
Great. Hi, Lauren. Hey, everybody, and thank you so much for having me here. Well, it's interesting with the book because that started back in 2014, or even before that, actually, I started writing the book. But what happened was, I used to be in the nail salon industry.
Okay.
I had my own businesses and was very good at that for a lot of years, like 30 years or more. What I loved most about doing that though was it was always just really easy for me and a real gift to be able to turn someone's perspective around. And it wasn't just, let's have a positive attitude about this. It was a real, they'd come in with their issue, their block, their story, and I would really be able to find an answer for them. But why don't you try this, right? So that was happening, and I just thought everybody could do it. And so my salons were always really busy because people had a beautiful experience in there with me because they were getting more than just their service. They were getting answers. I was
Right.
channeling in messages for them and all the rest of it, right? But it wasn't until 2009, well, it was 2008 actually. I had this client come in and she said to me, "Oh, I'm so excited. I went and saw a psychic and they told me this, 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 and this." And I'm thinking to myself, I kind of told you that a few weeks ago.
Right.
But you didn't listen. You didn't listen to my advice because you weren't there for that, right? It
Right.
wasn't that. Yeah, they weren't there for that, so it wasn't of importance to them. So it was at that point where I thought, you know what, I want to do something different because I now understand that I'm bringing messages in for people. I'm helping people change their perspectives on where they are in life so that they can change it or they can live a better life. And I want to do more of that and less of the filing of the nails. so
Right.
so I so I decided to change careers in 2009. And then I started online businesses and marketing and all the rest of it, which didn't really fill me with any joy or passion. And then I ended up back in the nail industry being a coach, writing some books for the nail industry. But it was at that point that I really understood that I had to do some personal development. I had to change because I was blaming everyone around me for my misery. It's your fault. It's their fault. It's the
Right.
city's fault, right?
Right.
And then I moved and I was in a place where I knew nobody. I was in a house by myself and I was still miserable. And a light bulb went on. I'm like, well, Trish, how can it be anybody else's fault but yours? So I
Right.
started taking 100% responsibility. And that's when I started writing this book, actually, because the book was kind of like a journal for me to really write down the aha moments I had about being less in the human drama and more in the essence of who I really was. So that's where that started. And then over the last decade, um, I've done a lot of personal development work. And it was about 3 years ago, I was just in this space where I'm like, universe, you've got to help me. I've tried this, I've tried that. They all worked a little bit, but I still felt like I was here reaching for something over there. And that was still in that scarcity and lack mindset.
Right.
And I
Right.
thought, I can't keep reaching for these things. I'm still in lack. So I kind of had one of those on your knees in the middle of the night moments with the universe, right? Help.
Yeah.
And it was that night that these 5 steps in my peace process, which is what the book is based on now, came to me, and I started doing those 5 steps the next day, and it was really different to anything I'd done because I started with the end first. That's what's made the difference for me. So rather than reaching, I already become, and then I do the clearing work. And it was just made more sense to me, and it worked so much better. And I've been using it for quite a few years now, and clients keep on using it. It's kind of a rinse and repeat 5 steps, right?
Okay.
So yeah, so when that became very clear to me, I then, because there was something about the book that I just kept shelving it. I'm like, oh, it's not ready yet. Oh, it's not ready. But when this process came, I'm like, there's the missing piece.
Right.
And so that's what the book became around. But it's got a lot of my journaling and a lot of my thoughts and uh, discoveries, I guess, from the personal work that I've done over the years. So yeah, that's how it kind of came about. And so now this 5 steps is accessible to anybody who's got the book. And then obviously, if they need help and a bit of support, then I'm here for that as well. But yeah, that's how it came about. And then it got published in March of this year and became a bestseller. And it's really gone across the globe, which is exciting.
Yeah, I was going to say I'll make sure that I definitely want to check it out, and I'll make sure that the listeners have it. We have that link that they can get it. I'm assuming it's on Amazon. They can get it on Amazon. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can get it from Amazon. Yeah. And anyone listening who's in Australia, you can still get it on Amazon, or you can get a signed copy from me.
Oh yeah. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I was going to say, I always, this is what I always say. I obviously in a higher timeline that I've been to Australia, but I always said I really want to either retire or just have a house there that I can go to as like a retreat or something like that. Because I'm like, I always wanted to just visit Australia or Bali or one of those magical islands that is just like
Yeah.
so peaceful nature. It's just so, it's like, that would be a perfect place to just be, like I feel like it's
Yeah.
so creative, other places are creative
I
too.
feel the same about Hawaii, and I've got this vision
Yeah.
that I'm going to end up in Hawaii one day. So I know how you're feeling.
Yes. Yeah. Because I always say, obviously if it's something that we desire or we envision, we obviously have it on some other timeline. So it's like filling that gap. And I like how you said that with when you started this book. I feel like that's my whole journey. I always felt like I started at the end and then I like had to piece together all these, like had the huge gap. And it's like when you said about lack, I feel like that resonates so much. And I feel like, people listening too, because the biggest thing that I feel like collectively that all of us, or even I know for myself or my clients have been struggling with is this manifestation. And you hear it and it's like, how do you manifest from a place of like I already have it? And it's like these manifestation gurus are saying that feeling, and it's just like I feel like for me it's sure sometimes that worked for me, but I feel like a lot of us manifest differently. So it's like how do you quote unquote pretend, because that's basically what you're doing most of the time, right? And I realize I would pretend that I feel abundant and I feel this and I feel that, but it's just like my mindset when I, like you said, you have to go back and clear. I personally was not clearing that. I wasn't releasing that. I wasn't allowing that. So I feel like that was a message for somebody listening, because I feel like that gap when people ask me, Lauren, how do I manifest if I don't have this or I want this? And it's just like, well, there's process. It
It
doesn't,
is
you just
tricky.
don't jump there. I know I do. I jump there all the time, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so we have to work backwards. So I love that you also resonate with that working backwards, because I feel like
Absolutely.
a lot of people probably are like, huh, that's me too. It's like I had this huge gap and like, where do I go now?
Exactly. And that's
Yeah.
what was really, the frustration for me. And so in the first step in my process, in the 5 steps, we actually go to a timeline, to a reality where you are living that change. Because
Yeah.
here's the other thing, it's not only, yes, you've got to pretend or you've got to imagine, but if you don't believe it's possible for you, imagining or pretending is not going to work. So,
Right.
I had such a lack mindset that I grew up with, and I think it's generational as well,
Yeah.
that I didn't believe abundance was possible for me. So no matter how many affirmations I said or imagines and blah, 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 it's like,
Yeah.
well, okay, well, I can pretend to believe it's true, but if you don't believe it's true, you're constantly reaching. So in the first step in my process, we actually go to a timeline or a parallel reality, or because I do believe if you can imagine it, it is happening somewhere for you, for your
Yes.
soul. It's happening somewhere, and you can tap into that. Um, so I call it a parallel reality. Um, and so we go there, and to actually go further than imagining and actually be in that soul, really remembering the
Yes.
feeling, not just imagining it. And I just find it such a powerful process, because when the person comes back to the present moment, then, and this is what's happened for me,
Hmm.
as well, like, you know what, I believe it's possible for me now. And that was the turning key.
Yes.
That was the turning key. If you believe it's possible, then everything starts lining up.
Right.
And you don't have this flat forehead of trying to manifest something that's not
Yes.
coming. It's not coming. So why is it not coming? So because you don't believe it's possible for you.
Right.
So yeah. So in step one, we go there. But I think it's really important to be clear as well. And you've probably found this in your work too. It's very important to be clear. You can't just say, well, I want a better relationship. Well, what does that mean? What is it about the relationship that you want to be better, and
Right.
why? And how do you want to feel? So it's really important to get clear. The first process I did was about abundance, because I wanted to shift the lack mindset. But, if I had have started with something like, I want to be wealthy, I could have gone there and experienced what that felt like, but I would have come back here still with a lack mindset. So
Right.
I had to be really clear on what's the first thing here that I want to change. Like, well, you know what, I just would really like to change my lack mindset to a more abundant one. So let's do that. Let's go to the reality where I have an abundant mindset. Let's feel that. Let's remember it and bring all those attributes back to this life. And then you go through all the forgiveness, the acceptance, the clearing your self sabotage, the connecting with yourself, and then everything in your environment kind of just shifts like magic.
I was, yeah.
And
I was gonna say, yeah, it's definitely when I say it's like it's hard to explain like what you said. It's like sometimes I'm like the only thing I can say is magic. Like it's not magic. These you're actually doing tangible things. You're not just
yeah,
sitting there. Often I feel like a lot of people also say, "Well, I asked the universe for this." Okay. So what are you doing about it? Like if you need more money or you need to
yeah,
pay bills, you probably have to go get an opportunity or a job. Like it's not just gonna like it's not going to fall out of the sky kind of thing. And I feel like sometimes it's like it should be that easy. Well, it's like sure, it should be, but it's like
yeah,
it's not. That's not reality. Like it's like you have to do that hard work. And I
yeah,
personally, like you said about that lack mentality, I didn't even know this a couple years ago when somebody had said to me, "What about past lives?" And I was like, "How did that have anything to do with like anything?" And then I was like, "Okay, well, let me do it." Like, so I did paid for the past life reading, and I realized there is actually still things that are coming up that I just had this knowing, and I didn't know that I had this knowing. Like, I had nuns in my family that were my grandmother's sisters, in this lifetime. And I was like, oh, I probably used to be a nun. They used to keep telling me that they're going to make me come to the convent and all this stuff when I was younger. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. I feel like I've already done that before. Like in my mind, I'm thinking, I feel like I've already done that before. But then I realized, being a nun or, a shaman in a different life or something like that, you take that oath to be in poverty. And I'm like, it has to be. And I had that reading and it like clicked. And it was like, yes, that's exactly why you feel this way. And I was like, okay, so how can we not delete that past life, but how can I delete that mindset? Like, how can we do that? And it was like, okay, so we'll clear it. Very simple,
yeah,
painless. And it was like,
yeah.
oh, I don't want to have to relive that part of my life. Like, I don't, and it's like, no, we don't need to. And it's
And
so,
you're clearing it, and
yeah,
you're clearing it for generations as well. You're clearing it for
yes,
all the all the timelines forward and back. And
Yeah.
interesting, my mum was a nun before she had us. So
Yeah.
it's really interesting that energy. And it's very true. But when you're talking about the magic will happen when you believe it's possible for you.
Yes.
So for anybody listening, if you've been, really pushing hard to manifest something and it's not coming, you have to ask yourself, do you really believe it's possible for you?
Yes.
Because if you don't believe that it's possible for you, it's not going to happen,
Right.
no matter what you do.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I feel like when people ask me that too, and I even tell myself this lately, I've been telling myself this. It's like, here I am manifesting a new house, but I forgot the first step. And it's like, wait a second. I got to manifest more money into my business to get there. Right. So it's like, I still do the same thing. And I just did this manifestation circle in my group coaching. And I realized, so I'm having them do this. And it's like, oh, I'm going to do it too with you guys, because
Yeah.
they're like, oh, are you? I'm like, yeah, I'm doing it with you guys because I was at the end point like you guys were. And so because I feel like, I don't know if you're like this with your clients too, but I feel like whatever I'm learning, I just teach them alongside of it. I just teach what I'm learning. And because I feel like that paradigm of that toxicity of like, I'm up here, that's not what I never resonated with that. It's like, you're down here, I'm going to teach you. And when I learn it after I apply it, it's like, no, I'm going to teach you what I did. You can figure it out if it's going to work for you. And if not, let's try something else.
Yeah.
That thing.
Oh,
And that's how I
absolutely.
always
Yeah.
coached. Yeah.
Yeah, and me too. And that's why I'm very vulnerable with what I share. It's like, hey, because I've got a private membership group as well.
Yeah.
And every day I'm in there going, well, this is how I felt this morning. This is what I did to overcome it. And this is where I am now. I
Right.
hope that helps.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And more often than not, people will be going, thank you so much, because that's exactly how I was feeling this morning and I didn't know how to get out of it. And that,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's exactly the same. You learn, you teach, you learn, you teach.
Yeah.
But you definitely have to take action. And that is left out of a lot of things that people teach, but you have to take action. So if you believe that you deserve your new house, then what are your action steps towards that? Right. Well, I believe that this house is possible and I believe I'm going to get it. Right. What's next? Well, I need, the income to get it. So what action can I take to do that? And it just becomes
Right.
a bit of a flow on effect. But if you don't believe it to be possible, if you don't believe you deserve something, then all of those fears will self-sabotage you.
Yes.
And you won't take the action. You'll distract yourself, or you'll procrastinate,
Yes.
or you'll blame your flat tire on not getting to an important job interview, or
Right.
there's
Yeah.
all sorts of self-sabotage stuff that people do. So that's why this process really helped me overcome everything, because I did start with the belief first that it was possible, because I went there and I remembered.
Right. Right.
And then all the other stuff just kind of like, oh yeah, I can take action on that because I believe that I deserve it, and I believe it's true for me because I remembered that in that life I lived then.
Right.
So but that belief is a big thing, and taking the action as well. And a lot of people don't. And of course, as you know, when you go to take those actions, your fears will come up and you've got to overcome those fears. And that's the
Right.
lessons that we learn every day. That's what being a human is.
Right.
And it's just dusting yourself off and taking that next step, and never giving up on what it is that your vision is and what you desire. Because if you're desiring it and you've got a vision for it, then it's possible for you. You just have to believe that it is.
Yes. Yes. Like, all things are possible. Even if you don't even know what that means for you, I always feel like, well, this is possible. We'll figure out how to do it. And then it's like, I often feel like I personally last couple weeks also forgot to ask. It's like, I feel like I'm, sometimes, I don't know if you can resonate with this too, but sometimes I feel like I am working, I'm doing all this stuff. I'm listening, I'm meditating, I'm channeling, I'm, doing all the stuff I feel like I need to do or I'm guided to do. But then I forget to just one, trust. I feel like trust is a huge thing with collective right now too. And then
Yeah.
ask. It's like, oh, wait, I forgot. One simple thing is like ask for
Yeah.
the support or ask for what I need. And it's not like I make this joke and, the client that's going to be listening, she said to me, she's been manifesting this love partner, right? So I was like, okay, so tell me what it looks like. What's the manifest. She's like, well, that's the part I wasn't clear on because I got a cat. And maybe the universe just knew I needed a cat. And I was like, oh, well, it's not human, but obviously that's what you needed. And she said, it just made me have this different perspective on I have to be very clear and very
You're
intentional. And I feel
very
like,
clear.
yes, you have to be very clear. You need to, if like it's very clear, because if not, you're going to get exactly what you ask for because, cats and animals are loving, like it's unconditional love. You're getting that. It's what you asked
Yeah.
for. Right. So it was like that shift and that aha moment. I'm like, that's right. Because it happens to me all the time. It's like I ask her something and I'm not very clear about it. I'm just asking. Maybe I'm just in my mind just saying it. It's like, oh wait, I didn't. No, that's not what I wanted. No, that
You've
one's
got to be exactly. You've got to be
yeah,
clear about how you want it to feel with it as well. So yeah, clarity
yeah,
is really important. And I think that's the one of the hardest things for people. I know with my clients, I mean, I've just got this ability to be able to make things clear for them, but that is one of the hardest steps. Like, well, what is it that you want and how do you want to feel and get clear on that? And I know back in 2008, when I was blaming the world for my misery, I put it all into that bucket of misery. It's like it's all everything. I want to change everything. Nothing's working.
yeah,
But that
yeah,
wasn't true. There was 2 or 3 things that weren't working. Everything else was fine. So,
yes,
you've got to be really clear. Otherwise you're like you're at the buffet of the universe and you're just saying, feed me. Like, well, what do you want?
right,
What do you want? Right.
yeah,
So clarity, very important. Believing that it's possible for you is very important. And just those 2 things alone, and asking and believing and taking the action, you'd be surprised the magic just shows up, right?
yes. I tell people this. I just had this conversation actually this morning with just a friend. I said, look, I know you think human design is woo woo. I know you think a lot of the things that I do is woo woo, but just promise me one thing. I challenge you for 1 year. Obviously, practice with your authority, and anybody listening, do the same thing. Practice with your authority and strategy, and in 1 year, give yourself a year because if you're 33, don't think it's going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time, right? The
Yeah.
universe is not at the grace of our own time. It's whatever is supposed to happen, right? So I said this to her, and as soon as she said that to me, it was like a couple hours later, she was like, I asked for this and this came. I asked for this, and like, because she's
Oh,
answering like according to what her soul wants. And this was like in a couple hours. And I was like,
yeah.
I said a year, but a couple hours is great too. But it's like, that is how quickly, like you said, it's
It can.
crazy to think. It's not crazy to think.
Yeah.
I just believe that that's just, you have to experience it. It's so hard to explain. I feel like it's so hard to
It,
just do it. Like if you are, I know that I don't like to say just do it because that could be conditioning too, but it's like just try it, and then see if
yeah.
it works for you. Maybe it's not, but I'm telling you it's going to work for you. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And I had a big aha the other day actually, and it was a really interesting one because, I've been doing a lot of work and I've been inviting in a lot this year, a lot of magic happening in my business and my life this year. Um, but I have been asking for a partner to come in. I've been single for quite some time, and I've kind of thought I'd cleared everything, and I've taken doing this, that, and the other. I even get out of the house every now and again, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Taking the action. But the other day, I just had this real aha because I was doing this video on something else, and I thought, oh, I don't actually believe that it's possible for me to have the partner that I desire. And it was just such a deep down kind of conscious aha that I never thought, I didn't know that even existed there in me. I thought I was ready and all the rest of it. Then I was talking in this video about possibilities, and in my head I'm going, you don't believe it's possible for you? And I'm like, God, no, I don't. And so, that clarity has really helped me work on that this week. It's like, well, why don't I believe it's possible? So let's work on that.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, the ahas that you have as you're doing the actions, as you're moving forward, and it's not about just stopping, is it, and going, right, I just need to stop and do one thing. No, you've got to have that bigger vision and let go of the outcome, like you did with your clients. Like, you know what, just let go of the outcome of the timing, and just do the action to bring these things in, and there it is, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that is one thing. I always feel like I teach all of the things that like were really hard for me and still are really hard,
Yeah.
because I feel like we're human, and I feel like instant gratification is a human symptom. It's something that humans
Yeah.
do. It's like an
Yeah.
ego response, and it's just like I came from a place of I didn't even want to be human. I didn't like my ego. We didn't get along. My higher self was fine. We were fine. We didn't
Yeah.
need no, that's not how it works here. Obviously that's not, I had no idea of how any of that worked, 4.5 years ago. So, but
Yeah.
since learning that, I feel like you know, um, each time I learn like a part of myself or a part of my ego, or to kind of like, how can we get along? How can we really be best friends? And I can understand that having that acceptance, it really flips that conscious level, like that consciousness, that 3D consciousness, because
Yeah.
I still get down there sometimes, especially if there's a lot of hard things that are happening, or, just 3D stuff that in the physical world that I'm dealing with, that I'm like, how do I get really excited about? How can I just accept this and move on? Like how, and not really spiritual bypass it. Cause I tried that too. That was one of the things I tried,
Yeah.
a couple
Won't
years
work.
ago, but it's like, I just remember these memes that I've seen online. It's really true. I think every single person that has went on this journey, or on this journey, you try to go around everything, and it's like you try, you just can't.
Yeah.
You have to go like through it, and most of the times you
Yeah.
need a mentor or somebody that has been there, or there's tons of self-help books, but I always say that you can read as much as you want, but you have to apply it. Like it's good to have that knowledge, but if you're not applying it, and if you don't know how to apply it, it's like, you need that mentor, like to do that. That's why I do so much free content and free stuff, because it's like I remember that person that didn't have money, thousands of dollars to pay these, to
Yeah.
pay that everybody deserves. Like I believe that people that charge $10,000, they deserve it. That is exactly what they
Yeah.
feel, that they deserve it. It's just that, I feel like I'm always for the people that don't have it, or the underdogs, of like the people that I can give
Yeah.
value to, and they don't need to pay me. That also is a mindset thing that I
Absolutely.
had to
Oh,
learn
absolutely.
too.
And I'm the same. Yeah, I'm the
Yeah.
same. And I like to give a lot of advice and things. And then when people are ready for
Yeah.
more kind of support,
Yeah.
because I know with myself, I haven't always been ready to do the next step with the
Yes.
coach. It's kind of like that accountability, and there's something inside you going, no, I'm scared. So I
Yes.
haven't
Yeah.
always been ready, but then when I am ready, whoever I need appears. But it's still, before you're ready, you're still reading, you're still learning, you're still experiencing. But
Yes.
you're absolutely correct. You can know something, but until you've experienced it,
Yes.
you can't really know it and put it into practice. And I think that, um, you and I are mentoring and coaching in a very similar way with what we experience. And I think
Yes.
that is far more profound than someone teaching from a textbook. If that makes sense.
Right. Or just teaching what they learned, and not say like, so, and I've noticed this. I noticed this when I had recorded myself like previously in my memberships, right? So I always
Mm.
saved them. Why I was saving them, I don't know. I don't know why I was always saving them, but I did. And I just recently I'm almost finished my second group coaching, and I started, then I was like, I'm going to go back and look at last year's. And I realized that the way that I always taught, thank gosh, somebody, told me how to do this. I don't know if it was the universe or just myself, but I always made it about me and how, like, this is what worked for me. You can do this if you want. And it's just kind of like, if I told somebody I ate oatmeal for breakfast, nobody can tell me no, because I know I ate oatmeal for breakfast. Like, so I always had that. This is what I did. This could help you. It's not like I'm
Yeah.
not guaranteeing that. And I feel like a lot of people get kind of hesitant with, how do you know it's going to work for me? And I'm going to say, I don't know it's going to work for you. You have to try it. And I'm not going to promise you
Well,
it's going to work, right? You have
no,
to
and
try it.
I think you have to do the work as well. Something won't
Yeah.
just work for you. I mean, that's putting all the power to the external. The
Right.
power's within you. And I know how to really tune into the client and where they're at. And so I can kind of adjust things so that it will be better received by them. And I think that is something you do as well, because you can tune into what their human design is and really be
Hmm.
able to present it in a way to them that they can receive. And I think that's the
Yeah.
the real key there. Like, there's no point me talking about how my 5 steps can change your life if you're not receiving it.
Yes.
And there has to be just this um, connection, I think, with whoever you're speaking with, and you've got it, and I've got it, and it enables us to um, deliver in a way that they can be open to receive, and that makes a big difference. And then something will shift.
Right. Yes.
Something will shift.
Yes.
And they may say, well, that worked for me, but actually what happened was they were open to change. And
Right.
that just makes such a big difference. And I think I think it's just the authenticity of, hey, I've been through that. I get it. Let me show you a couple of things that will help. I remember, because I can see the possibilities for people as well. I can see the greater possibilities for people,
Yeah.
but I really learned to say them in a way that they'll be received as well. Because I remember years ago, I had a coach that really saw the greater possibilities for me, and it scared the bejesus out of me. And I'm like, whoa, no, I didn't believe that would be possible. So I really
Yeah.
shrunk back. So I'm very aware of that now. If I get a client coming in and this is what I want to do, and I'm like 20 steps further
Yeah.
ahead in my mind about what's possible for them than what they believe about themselves, I really have to bring that back in and just kind of go, okay, well, why don't we start here? Could you believe that's possible? Because sometimes that really scares people as well, and we stay small.
Yeah.
And because that's happened for me, that's one of the ways I coach as well, because I don't want people to be scared of their possibilities. I want people to
Yes.
be excited about them, right?
Yes. I was gonna say that's actually literally that does align and that resonates too, because I feel like one of my mentors now, she I call her my fairy godmother.
Yeah.
And she it's just, she must be able to see. I know my possibilities, I can see it, but I feel like I could be biased to it sometimes. So for somebody else to see it, sometimes if I'm stuck in that loop of like, oh, this is like that victim mentality loop sometimes that I get myself stuck into. And I realize, if I just ask somebody else's perspective on it, or just figure out what's going on inside of me, or like if I'm rejecting myself or whatever it is inside of me, or maybe I'm judging myself. That could be too. I'm judging myself too harshly,
Yeah.
or maybe I'm expecting too much from myself and just kind of just be and flow. But yes, sometimes when there's these big opportunities, like especially like, when I was asked to speak on stage and be a keynote speaker, and I was like, what? Like, what did I like when I got there? I'm like, what did I just sign myself up for? Like, what's happening? But I have a podcast, and I have like I do all of this stuff, and I like speaking from my heart. Never did it until August, but speaking on an actual stage from my heart, I realized, not many people know this, but I memorized a 20-minute TED Talk style speech and said nothing. Maybe 3 words from the beginning that I memorized. I memorized all of it.
Been there.
And I'm speaking from my sacral. Don't really know what I said. I had to wait for the recording, because I'm like, I don't even know what I just said. But whoever I just said to my audience, it's exactly what every single person needed to hear, or whatever I said, that was part of what I needed. And just, I felt so fulfilled. Like, I felt like I felt seen, I felt heard, I felt like people know that they're not alone, and they don't have to be alone. And the part that I was speaking about is how, like, healing through human design, because that's how what I use. There's tons of tools that you can use, right? So it's like, what I used was just human design, because I didn't even know I didn't even know who I was at one point in my journey, right? So it's like, I needed to find out. That's what I could trust. That gave me, like, I didn't have to feel shame, I didn't have to feel guilt. I mean, I had to heal through that, right? But I felt like, well, this chart's telling me this is who I am. This is my birth date. It's like, I guess this is who I am, and this is what I have to work towards, right? So it's like, and then it's like, now, calling myself a leader, calling myself a guide, it's humbling, because it's like, there's so many other people. You don't just have to be a projector to be a guide, but it's like, I know my role here in society, and it's like, nobody else can tell me different, right? Because that comes with confidence, which human design has helped with. And it's helped so many other people too, because I feel like, and it's cultural, and I think it's generational too, that it's like, well, who told you you have to be that? Or who told you that you have all this money? Or who told you that that's who you are? And it's like, wait, you could just say my human design did, like, because it's the truth. And I feel like you can find a lot of truths through life, and like understanding all of that stuff too. I mean, of course the universe knows the truth too, but you also know the truth, because you are the truth.
We are the truth. That's
Yeah,
exactly right. We are the truth.
right. And I always say, when people, the biggest thing, and I don't know if you get this question too, but the biggest thing that people ask me is, well, what's my life purpose? And it's like, you are. So I was like thinking, well, how do I answer that question? It's like, because the simplest thing that I can say is, you are your life purpose. Like, you don't have to be anything else. It's just understanding it, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And I believe that as well. And maybe your purpose today is just to find some joy, or to bring some joy to somebody else. So,
yeah.
and I think people get confused with, someone like, uh, Elon Musk, or some of the great writers or whatever. Oh, I knew my purpose when I was 6 years old or whatever. But is it really their purpose, or is it their reason for being here? But their purpose is still to be the best version of themselves
Right.
on the mission that they're here to do. So yeah, a lot of people come to me about purpose. And next year I'm running 8-week circles to really study the 5 steps in my book, and purpose will come up with that as well. So I've called them peace, purpose, and potential, and they're 8-week online circles, because purpose does come up. Well, what is my purpose here? Well, maybe just to be happy. Let's try that.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
What
Maybe to
brings
have
you
joy.
joy?
Yeah.
Yeah, what brings you joy? Because that will actually that will lead you to what you love doing, and
Right.
that will lead you to a purposeful life. If
Right.
that's a better wording, yeah.
Yeah. I know, when somebody asked me, well, what brings you joy? And I had to say, being a servant leader, like what I do right now. Like, it brings me immense joy. Like, I don't
Yeah.
feel like, sure, it's my business. There's a lot of things that I have to do on the back end of my business, but the main thing is, I love my ideal business. When people ask me what my ideal business vision is, and I know it's going to happen, is me just making content and speaking with people. I don't do anything else. Like, that's not what I'm not available for any of that, but I have to be available for it right now. So it's like, what I'm available for is, how can I help as many people as possible and making that content to help, help whoever needs to see it. And then having those connections, like if it's the like podcast or like speaking on stages, or that's all I really want to do. It's like I don't want to do anything. I'm not available for anything else. But it's like that's not what an entrepreneur is. It's like in the perfect world, that's what I would want to do. And it's like these people that have these big teams and all that stuff, they started out just like Google started out in the garage. So it's like they started out, you have to start out where everybody else started. It's not like you can
Exactly.
jump
Yeah. And
from,
for everybody listening, that's a
yeah,
really great place, because we can get into comparisonitis,
yeah,
and we can start comparing with people. But where are you right now, and what's your first step? And whatever your first step is perfect for you. And
yeah.
if you've never done a live video, what's the first step towards that? The people who are really great on live video, they weren't just born that way. Like, you take
No,
your first step and then you just get better. So for the people listening, yeah, like wherever you are. And I also want to say that sometimes we don't realize the gifts we've got.
yeah,
All of those years in my businesses, I didn't realize I had a gift to help people change their perspective. I thought everybody could do it. I didn't realize I had a gift of giving people an experience. I didn't realize I had a gift of bringing messages in. And everybody's got gifts. And sometimes we write them off as, nah, everybody can do that. But it's not true. And whatever you're experiencing in life right now, whatever you have experienced, if you've dusted yourself off and moved on from that, that's an absolute gift that will help somebody else in their life right now. And some of the things that you think are just that everybody can do, no.
yeah.
And maybe some people can do it similar, but no one does it like you. So
Love
so
that.
yeah, so for everyone listening, start where you are and really be clear on what brings you joy, what you really love doing, and how you love doing it, and how it makes you feel, and everything will unravel from there. Everything will unravel from there.
Yes. I love that. I love that you said start where you are. That's probably when people ask me, what is the best advice that you can give me? I'm like, you just have to start. The first
Just start.
anything is going to be crappy. It's going to suck. The first video, it's like, if you're telling me that you want to do videos, why haven't you done it? You don't have to post it
Yeah,
on social media. Just record yourself, or, just practice, there's edit. You can edit it. That's
just
such a thing of editing it,
just
right?
take just take the first
All
step.
part of it. It's
Yeah, just say
2023.
yes. Just decide to say yes to yourself. That's
Yes. Yep.
that's it, and everything else will unfold.
I
Yeah.
love that. Is there any other pearls of wisdom that you want to give our listeners before we wrap up? Or is there what is the best way that they can connect with you? Um, is it
Yep.
through social media, your website?
Yeah. So yeah, so both. I'll give you all the links and you can
Yeah, we'll make sure I put
pop
them
them
in
in
the
there.
description box. Yeah.
But yeah, you can connect with me on social media. You just look up Trish Rock and I'll be there across all the platforms.
That is perfect. That's
Um,
easy. Easy and simple.
yeah, and my website is trishrock.com. Um, and you can just search for the Peace Process book or Trish Rock on Amazon, and that will come up as well. But obviously, it'll be easier just to click a link. But yeah, so I'd love people to connect with me and learn more about the book. And the 5 steps really could change everything for you. They really could. Maybe that could be the first step, actually, just kind of saying, yeah, I'm going to say yes to myself and learn a little bit more about who I really am and see if I can remember all of those things that I'm reaching for so that I can stop reaching for them. So grab the book, but I do mentor as well, and I have sessions with people. I also do like psychic sessions. But next year, 2024 is an 8 year. So it's all flow and abundance. And after this year of everything sorting stuff out, it's going to be so lovely.
Yeah.
But I'm starting my circles next year. We start on February the 8th.
That's the day
They
after my
are,
birthday.
oh, it's all the eights next year. So I'm starting on February the 8th. I'm doing an 8-week online circle. So no matter where you are in the globe, you can come and join. There's only
Okay.
eight women, and we're going to be going through my steps in the peace process, and you're going to really get a lot of support and hand holding, and also me tuning in to your clarity and your possibilities and potential and all of that to really help you along the way. And it's going to be such a beautiful, safe, sacred space. So I'm going to be running quite a few of those next year. So that will be in my links there as well.
Okay.
So
So
if
make sure
you
you
if
put
you
them
do
in.
want to,
Yeah.
yeah. So if you do want to explore my peace process with the 5 steps, my book there.
There's your
Yeah,
I
I
was gonna
would
say
love
if
to
you're watching this on YouTube, because the people listening, that she just showed her book, but the people watch it on YouTube too. So it's like if you're watching on YouTube, she just showed her book.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. I've got to remember people are just listening as well. Some in some places. So yeah. So my book is called The Peace Process: Tools to Align and Prosper. We do venture into parallel realities, so that you can really remember who you are and bring that back to the now and really live your best life. And that's my mission here, is to help people live their best life, and
Love that.
to really, start taking those first steps and believe it's possible for them and believe in themselves. So if you are listening, I want you to know that everything you imagine, everything you dream, if you're dreaming it, if you're imagining it, it is possible for you.
Yes.
So I want you to understand that, and if it's and then from that point of view, if it is possible for you, what's the first step you could take towards it?
Love that. That is awesome pearls of wisdom. Thank you so much.
Oh,
So
you're
thanks
welcome.
so much for joining us today on today's episode with Trish on the Enlightened Misfits podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, you can leave a review, and share with somebody that you feel that would gain value from listening. So stay tuned for more captivating conversations in the future. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week. See you next time.